So how good is High Fae Trickster? That is the question we're going to try to answer inside this video, and a little bit more. The method of choice is looking at tournaments on EDH Top 16's website. For example, here we have a Tymna Crom that does not play High Fae Trickster, but they do play Valley Floodcaller. So currently we have 1,737 tournament entries with Tymna Crom, like one of the ones you saw where it won, and Blue Farm has a win rate of 26.59%, which makes this the best deck inside the entire format and the most popular deck inside the entire format. To bring to a tournament, that is. In comparison, Kinnan has an 1,410 tournament entries and a win rate of 22.58. So there is a big difference. For example, Tymna Crom has a high win rate. This still has a pretty good win rate, but lower in comparison. So in this video we're going to only look at Tymna Crom and how good they are with High Fae Trickster, as I believe it's going to be pretty the same result for every other commander out there too. And here is that answer. It's not great. So from those 1,737, High Fae Trickster has been played in 31 of those, which is a very low inclusion rate, and when played drops the win rate quite drastically. So in basic sense, the people that playtested it stopped playing it, and the popularity vote decided that High Fae Trickster is bad among the Tymna Crom players. In comparison, Valley Floodcaller is heavily played in Blue Farm, Tymna Crom. From those 1,737, it has 1,434 entries, and a win rate that is basically equal to the average win rate of 26.54. But why is that? Why is Valley Floodcaller good and High Fae Trickster bad? Well, we can look at combinations of cards. So this is still only looking at Blue Farm, and here we have 1,058 decks that have entered into tournaments with Born Upon the Wind, Esper Sentinel, Final Fortune, Necropotence and Valley Floodcaller, but excluded High Fae Trickster. And as you can see, it's working pretty decent and okay. It's hitting a win rate equal to the total average, as Valley Floodcaller is a good card for the Necropotence combo, so to say. Because Necropotence is a great card, as you can see in red win rate. Wait, what's going on? This isn't what I expected. Yeah, that's really how things are sometimes. You have beliefs, I have a lot of beliefs, but my beliefs are often corrected by tournament statistics and data and facts. So, among the 1,737 tournament entries of Blue Farm, Tymna Crom together, 1,251 have entered into tournaments with the Necropotence inside their decklist, and that have achieved a win rate of 25.76, which is a drop of minus 0.88%, which ultimately means that it's okay. It's not doing anything like drastic to the win rate. It's basically the same average win rate compared to everything else. So Necropotence being good or bad inside the decklist doesn't really seem to matter. It's an average in the middle ground card, you could say. Let's try and dig deeper on why High Fae Trickster is not working great, and look at Ad Nauseam as the other alternative instead of Necropotence. Suddenly the win rate is in green, and a very high population vote. Now once again, the difference here is plus 0.15% compared to Necropotence minus 0.88%, which ultimately means that it's not a very big difference between Ad Nauseam and Necropotence. However, if you remember this when we looked at a combination of cards that did exclude High Fae Trickster, we can do the same thing in comparing the Ad Nauseam and excluding Necropotence basically. So here we have 334 tournament entries with Ad Nauseam, Demonic Consultation, Tainted Pact, Fastest Oracle and Underworld Breach, basically like 4 auto-includes and then Ad Nauseam. And they have an average win rate, they are also excluding Doomsday, Necropotence and Peer into the Abyss. And their win rate is on 30.32%, which is amazing. If we compare that to the total average on 26.59, it is a big difference. the ultimate verdict is that if you're playing Tymna Chrom, you should be aiming more towards Ad Nauseam and cutting and staying away potentially from the entire Necropotence package. And that is ultimately why High Fae Trickster is bad inside Tymna Chrom, because 4 CMC is going to hurt your Ad Nauseam potential, and if you're cutting Necropotence, then there's no real... Okay, someone might actually come with a big reason like Flash is awesome, having access to that, great. However, I would argue without the Necropotence, I don't see a big reason to have this card, as most things are in instant speed anyway. Tainted Pact in instant speed, Force of Will instant speed, Mindbreak Trap in instant speed. What more do you need? By the way, I will actually throw in a bonus while we're at it. I did take a look at some other combinations and I found this. Now this is a little bit outside the video, but here we have 241 tournament entries with Blue Farm, Tymna Chrom on Adnos, Esper Sentinel, Grand Abolisher, Orcish Bowmaster, Fastest Oracle, Underworld Breach, and they cut all 3 wheels: Time Twister, Wheel of Fortune, Windfall. Wheel of the red one when you bet life could actually be in here, but as you can see, an enormous win rate of 32.45, meaning that wheels might be something to stay away from in Tymna Chrom. But back to the main focus of the video, because I wanted to take a look at if High Fae Trickster was a good card in another potential Necropotence deck. So here we have Tymna and Thrasius on an 1347 tournament entries, so they are very popular too, but with a win rate of 22.80%, which means that they are not far, but definitely below Tymna Chrom's win rate. But they could also be playing Necropotence, and well, popularity vote, no, and win rate data statistics, no. So from 1347 tournament entries, they have 83 tournament entries when they had Necropotence inside their decklist, and that achieved an average win rate of 20.27%, which is a big drop in comparison to the total average of 22.80. If you look at High Fae Trickster, the popularity vote is playing it a little bit more. It is going up to 20% inclusion rate. You can see the pie chart up there, basically a 258, but still a win rate in red, a drop by -1.67. Also clearly saying that this is a bad card and probably not recommended for Tymna Thrasius, even though this was a much bigger drop. However, Valley Floodcaller seems to be doing okay inside this pair. There is a combination, or there's a combo with Retraction Helix and Mox Opal. When you cast Retraction Helix on Valley Floodcaller, you cast Mox Amber or Mox Opal, and then you basically untap Valley Floodcaller, you tap it to return the artifact, and then you make infinite mana. Kinda similar to how on Hullbreaker Horror would generate infinite mana, so I can see a big reason why you are playing it heavily, and if I'm gonna be honest, the drop of minus 0.37 is not that big of a deal. I would still say that Valley Floodcaller seems to be an okay card inside TNT, but you make up your own decision. If you don't want to include Retraction Helix, I think you should cut Valley Floodcaller potentially too. So that made me ask, what is TNT playing then? Are they playing Ad Nauseam? And apparently they aren't. When they do, they're losing too, which made me really confused. How is this deck winning? And we're not going to try to answer that inside this video. We more or less know the answer. It's like Seedbone Muse, draw a lot of cards until you find Phasas and Consult, and then you win. Or you play like Hullbreaker Horror, make infinite mana with that Mox Opal and Sol Ring, and then you activate Thrasius and infinitely win. But I think we have basically reached a clear conclusion that High Fae Trickster is not showing a promising result in a tournament performance. When not played, you're winning a little bit more. And also a small takeaway from this video is that Necropotence might not be that great in comparison to other options. And when you're choosing to play more focused towards maybe Adnos and Underworld Breach, cutting Adnos and cutting Necropotence and cutting the entire High Fae Trickster Flash package it seems to be doing better for you. But I want to emphasize that this was a video when we looked into specifically how High Fae Trickster have been working out in Tymna the Weaver and Crom. So the card could be great in some other commander deck out there. It's just that we had a very high sample size of Tymna Crom, and I do believe it should answer the question of if this is good outside that commander combo pair too. As I truly believe this is a card for Necropotence builds, and the verdict is basically that Necropotence seems to be a little bit weaker compared to other options, which is dragging down the reason for this to see some action. And if you're going for Necropotence too, it looked like cutting this might be a good reason too, by the way. The decision of cutting this or playing this is totally up to you. I'm just showing you the numbers and you will make your own decisions. I could see a world where someone is playing it anyways, but you've seen the data, and in my world from that, I don't think this is a good card, and in the end I'm going to even say not recommended for tournaments.